Please. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, and welcome to the Lawndale City Council. I'm going to ask the city clerk to give us the roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Osborne.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Present.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Here.
All members present.
All right, I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Suarez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, very nice. Let's have our public safety report. Let's hear from Captain Allen.
It's Lieutenant Leo. I'm standing in for Captain Allen.
Lieutenant Leo, thanks for stepping in.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I am presenting the public safety report for August 3rd through August 16th. On August 4th at 11 p.m., Deputy Green conducted a traffic stop of a vehicle at Rosecrans Avenue and Pomona Avenue for an unsafe lane change. The driver never had a driver's license and was on post-release supervision for burglary. As the driver exited the vehicle, Deputy Green immediately saw a loaded handgun lying on the driver's seat. The driver was arrested for being a convicted ex-felon in possession of a firearm. On August 5th, at midnight, Deputy Gonzalez conducted a traffic stop of a vehicle in the 15200 block of Hawthorne Boulevard for tinted windows. The driver had a suspended driver's license and was detained pending further investigation. During a search of the vehicle, Deputy Gonzalez recovered a loaded handgun from within the vehicle, which the driver admitted to possessing. The driver was arrested for possession of a loaded firearm in a vehicle, which was also not registered to the suspect. On August 6th, around 2 a.m., Deputy Green conducted a traffic stop of a vehicle at Marine Avenue and Inglewood Avenue for an illegal lane change. Inside the vehicle were 4 occupants. Deputy Green detained the driver for an unlicensed driver investigation. Upon having the driver exit the vehicle, Deputy Green saw a handgun in the pocket of the driver's door. The driver was also in possession of numerous narcotics. Due to the driver's previous felony convictions, he was arrested for possession of a firearm and possession of a controlled substance. The other occupants were released at the scene. Vehicle thefts have been on the rise countywide since the court's implementation of the COVID-19 emergency bail schedule, which allowed for suspects to be released shortly after arrest due to the state's coronavirus concerns. Despite that, deputies are still arresting suspects in stolen vehicles when they encounter them. To address the increase in vehicle thefts in the city of Lawndale, steering wheel locks will be provided free of charge to the residents of Lawndale. There's a limited supply that will be available at the Lawndale Service Center, especially if your vehicle is one that is prone to being stolen. Efforts should be taken by every vehicle owner to ensure your vehicle is locked, the steering wheel is in the lock position, and the alarm is armed. Also, please do not leave your car unattended with the key in the ignition. That is an open invitation to have someone steal your car. This concludes my report, and I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Captain Leo, for that report. Are there any comments on the excuse me, are there any comments on the report from the
Yeah, Robert, just
Lieutenant?
a quick comment. Just comment, not a question. I just want to say, it's just good work that the deputies do. When they get loaded firearms off the streets, it could result in murders, homicides, and so forth. The good work like that, that's why we need to fight back against this defund the police movement that we're seeing right now. It's things like that that make Lawndale safer, and we need the sheriffs we have. We don't need less. That's it.
Okay, thank you for that comment, Councilman. Any other questions of the Lieutenant's report? Okay, you're going to keep promoting you to Captain. Lieutenant Leo, we want to thank you for your report. Let's move on to oral communication. let's ask the Assistant City Clerk, do we have any more communications?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. We have one public comment, and I'll go ahead and read it verbatim. Gary White, Lawndale resident. Every afternoon after 4 p.m., the Greenbelt area along the railroad tracks becomes a park for families and dogs. My concern is that most of the people are not wearing masks or social distancing. I am all for families enjoying this area and each other, but I have concerns for the spreading of COVID-19. Thank you for the restart of street sweeping on all streets. That ends public comment.
Okay, are there any comments on public comments? We'll just, if anyone just want to jump in there rather than going down on the road since there was just one.
I'll start, Robert.
Yes, sir.
I don't really see it as a big deal when it's families. If there's families out there and they're already been living in a household together and then they're outside enjoying time together, I don't see a change in the risk if they've already been together. And furthermore, I think eventually we're probably going to, with or without a mask, we're all going to be exposed to the virus as the months proceed. I think it's inevitable. But anyway, that's all I got.
All righty. Thank you, Councilman. Any other responses to public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comments, and we are now at item F on the agenda, which is the consent calendar, items 1 through 5. What is the pleasure of this body concerning the consent calendar?
If there's no,
Mayor Pro- I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it sounds like we have a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Suarez and a second by Councilman Pat Kearney. Are there any discussions or debate on the motion? Seeing none, would the council please vote? Ask City Clerk to give the roll call for the vote.
For the consent calendar, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Osborne,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Kearney,
Yes.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir. We're now at item number 6 on the agenda. Authorizing the application for the receipt of a permanent local housing allocation grant. Let's have the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council and the public. This is Sean Moore, Director of Community Development. The item you had before you is a grant opportunity for the City of Lawndale. It's known as the Permanent Local Housing Allocation Grant Program. It's put out by the Los Angeles County Development Authority, also known as LACTA. They plan on applying for a grant from the California Department of Housing and Community Development, also known as HCD. There's approximately $5 million plus available for funding. Lawndale share, if the council moves forward tonight, we approximately could be awarded $195,797 in the grant award. The intent of the program is to provide legal eviction defense, eviction preparation services, and or other approved activities, which is pre-development, development preservation services for residential housing for affordable, very low income and very low and very, very low income folks. Staff is recommending that we move forward with this grant to pursue the pre-development, development, acquisition, rehabilitation, and preservation of multifamily rental housing for affordable, extremely low, very low, low, or moderate incomes, and including necessary operation subsidies. This is an opportunity that was afforded to us. LACTA notified us on June 26th. Staff's already working with LACTA and other grants that we move through with, mostly our community development block grant that the council is aware of yearly. The project's exempt under CEQA, no commission review. The fiscal impacts would be minimal, just staff time and administering the program. One of the examples I could give the council tonight, if it's approved to move forward, we would work with property owners that sometimes they are in code enforcement situations. They don't have money to fix certain violations on their homes, so we could use that grant money towards those program funding. This concludes staff's report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that report. Are there any questions of the report?
Sounds good.
I have one question. I'm just wondering how helping a homeowner with code enforcement issues, how they satisfy the requirement of, in this case, housing, unless you're talking about a code enforcement issue that otherwise would render a place inhabitable. I'm just wondering how would that meet with this mission of providing housing?
So if, for example, they are lacking the housing, like it says on the additional activity, which needs to be approved by LACTA, so the additional activity, not just those eviction services, but the services for pre-development, development, or existing housing. So if they're living in existing housing and they meet the affordable criteria, and let's say they have some kind of issues with not meeting their two-car garage for their parking requirements, or they don't meet their landscaping requirements and they can't afford, typically what we see is they can't afford to meet those requirements to bring the property up to zoning requirements, this monies could be used to help them meet those requirements. And I checked with our consultant, and that would meet our requirements if approved by LACTA, this additional activities. And it is on their comprehensive list. Attachments A and B I provided to the council. Attachment A, the resolution, and Attachment B, the list of the program guidelines and all of the other additional uses activities that are approved outside of their main objective of LACTA, which is eviction and control. The number one item, eligible activities, is number one under Attachment A for a list of eligible activities.
Okay, and thank you for that. And so is the item we have listed here for which we could use the funding for the pre-development, development, acquisition, etc., is that the only item amongst the list of qualifying items that we as a city would be using the funds for?
I'm requesting on the resolution, we focus specifically on this area based on my discussions. Right, based on my discussions with LACTA and our consultant, we had to pick a listed activity that would be approved. There are other activities in here. There's number 2 listed for ADUs, matching for local allocation trust funds, and we don't have programs set up for some of these other ones. So I kind of picked the more general one, which I thought would be more applicable and easier to apply without requiring additional resources on the department, where we are already working with folks. And then, as I think the city attorney brought it up to my attention a few weeks back, that this might be a good opportunity we could use it when some folks are in the different stages with the code enforcement violations. We can intercede before then or during that process and help them out. We've had cases where folks don't have the monies to bring their properties up to requirements. They're either retired, unemployed, and they're somewhere in this criteria where they can meet affordable, very low income. And this would be a good program to apply for it. But if they don't meet those criteria, they obviously wouldn't be granted the funds. It's similar to the Great Neighborhoods program that we had in the city a few years back, where we helped to rehabilitate homes and properties. Yep. Okay.
So that means so the items in which we would use the funds for don't necessarily have to be enumerated in the resolution. So we're not just held to what's enumerated in the resolution, or could we go outside of it as long as it's listed on their obviously qualifying activity?
No, Mr. Mayor, actually, no. I've been asking for this permission to go after this activity, and that's what I presented to LACTA. If the council wants to change it, I mean, if we find a need to change it, I'd have to come back and revise the resolution and bring it back to LACTA.
Okay, got it. Okay, guys. Thank you for that clarification. Are there any other questions on the presentation?
I have one, Mayor, Mr. Pat.
Yes, sir.
Sean, is this money refundable? Do we recoup the money as for a lien, or it's just money gone from this grant?
It would be, I'd have to check on the program guidelines. LACTA has very specific, I don't have all the details. Yeah. But there would be, it'd be similar to the Great Neighborhoods program. I think you guys, we use liens and the forms of liens
Yeah.
And other requirements, they have specific requirements
Okay.
from LACTA. They would enforce on handing out anyone that was qualified for the program funding.
That's
Yeah,
all I-
Mayor, Councilmember Kearney and Mayor, if I could add to that, usually grant means that it's forgivable, whereas loan
Yeah.
means you have to repay it. But it could be like Sean said, that it burns off over time of you being in good standing, but we'll let you know when we find out.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay,
any
this is
other
Councilman Reed. I had one question. Is there any indication as to whether this grant could possibly be repeat, or do we know, is this just a one-time grant they've put together at this time?
Yeah, they indicated that this could be an ongoing grant activity. They did mention that that they're looking at making this a permanent allocation as to the cities and available to the countywide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the presentation, item 6?
Well, if not, Mayor, I'll make a recommendation. We go to staff report.
Okay, the recommendation has been made by Kearney
second
that
it.
we go staff report and seconded by Osborne. Are there any questions on the motion? Any debate, I should say, on the motions? Seeing none, I'm going to ask the Assistant City Clerk to give the roll call for the vote of item 6.
For item 6, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Osborne,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Kearney,
Yes.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All righty. Okay, next item. Item 7 is an update on the Best Western Hotel in the Baymont. Have a staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the City Council. This is Michael Reyes, Director of Municipal Services. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight. The purpose of the staff report is to update you on the use of Best Western and the Baymont Inn as temporary homeless shelters through Project Roomkey. The purpose of Project Roomkey was to slow the spread of the coronavirus by safely housing homeless individuals most susceptible to COVID-19 into vacant hotel rooms. Since opening as a Project Roomkey hotel, the Best Western has steadily taken in homeless individuals and is now operating at full capacity with all 96 rooms occupied by 110 clients. The Baymont Inn is operating at nearly full capacity with 99 rooms being occupied by 119 clients. To date, there have been no significant incidents with either property and with some minor success stories from both properties about clients being placed into permanent long-term housing. Staff has worked hard to inform residents this program was initiated solely between the County of Los Angeles and the hotel owners, independent of the City of Lawndale. The city does continue to discuss options to challenge the County of Los Angeles on the legality of Project Roomkey and expects the hotels to collect and pay transient occupancy tax for the rented hotel rooms. Additionally, our county contact did confirm that the use of the Best Western will end in October, and we are still awaiting information about whether or not the Baymont Inn will extend their contract with Los Angeles County. Further, staff understands that there have been concerns and anxiety by our city council and by the community at large about these properties becoming permanent homeless shelters as part of Governor Newsom's Project Homekey. Our county liaison also stressed that the county is not pursuing any locations within the city of Lawndale as a part of Project Homekey. This concludes my update. I can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you for that report. Are there any questions of the staff report? Item 7.
Robert's Jim, and
Yes,
not really a question, Michael, just a comment. You know, today I went up on Hawthorne Boulevard to get lunch, and as I was waiting to pick up at a place, there's at least 4 transients passed by there, and then I did a sort of a U-turn and went up and down the length of Hawthorne. I counted over 10. So it just appears like this thing is not doing as the county has tried to make the initial promise that it was going to reduce the amount of transients on Lawndale streets. And they're new ones. There's not necessarily ones that have been here a long time. There were a few that were. But if they're trying to sell this thing still as being a success, I would say wrong. It's not. There's still a number on our streets that are not being taken into the program or, being helped by it. That's it.
No, and I would agree with that assessment. My staff and I have noticed an uptick in homeless as well. We are still doing daily outreach to put them into the LA HOP system so that they can be recommended to be put into these hotels. They do have to qualify, but I imagine neighboring cities are probably directing their homeless to our area because and using the hotels as just basically a carrot to dangle in front of them. So, but I agree. We have seen the uptick in numbers of homeless.
Well, Mayor, this is Pat. Mike, do you think these are friends of friends in the hotel coming in?
I'm sorry, sir. One more time.
Do you think these are friends of friends in the hotel?
Yes. In fact, I think we're fairly certain of that.
Okay.
That's a message we've got from the deputies as well, that a lot of these guys they're bringing their homeless friends over, and they're just hanging out. I don't think the hotel allows them in there, so they'll just talk to them on the streets, and then they'll just linger. So, and I'm sure these are friends and family of a lot of the homeless guests.
Okay. And I know you said we have some minor incidents there, but shoplifting and the guy, I can't see a 65-year-old guy that's vulnerable to coronavirus running across Hawthorne Boulevard to the Best Western and being arrested over there. So I don't think the county is being upfront with this. I think these are all age people that are vulnerable to the coronavirus. Also about the county saying they're not going to purchase anything. I know Kevin in his update said they wouldn't, but did we get anything in writing, or we just going by their word? And their word ain't worth the salt to blow them to hell.
Yeah, I was going to say Kevin could probably answer this better than I could, but the word came from our liaison.
Yeah.
I don't know how solid that is or not.
Yeah. And is staff still going over to the Best Western in Baymont, or are you doing it by phone?
We're doing it only by phone now.
Yeah. Okay. Those are my questions and concerns. I know we had a death in the Best Western over this weekend. Sergeant Nick reported that. So we had a death there. So we don't know if it was natural causes or COVID-19 or anything. It's just a death. So we're not getting the information we should be getting.
I can try to research that too, sir, if you'd like.
Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions on item 7?
This is Mayor Pro Tem Suarez. I did have a quick comment for our staff, Michael. I know initially when we did the homeless count back in January, I think our numbers were at 40. So I don't know if we've kind of taken a screenshot as we're going along and monitoring these new homeless of how much our numbers have increased from homeless on the street versus not counting Project Roomkey. So if we can kind of monitor and see how we've been impacted by the hotel, not only the ones in the hotel, but the ones that are walking around on our streets.
Yeah, we can try to get specific numbers, and we have definitely seen some new faces that were not here 6 months ago. Quite a few of them. In fact, I'd say there's more new homeless than there are existing homeless that were already here. Of the homeless that were here, some did not qualify for the room. I know the 2 that I spoke to and tried to get into the Project Roomkey. They were under the 65-year age limit, and they did not have any existing health issues. So for that reason, they were not allowed in. Whereas some of the younger homeless that we did get in there were only about 30, 35 years old, but they had PTSD or they had asthma or things that would qualify them to enter. So I do know that we still have some homeless on the street that we're familiar with, that were here for a while now, but there's quite a few more that we did not encounter 6 months ago.
Okay, thank you for that report, the update on the 2 hotels, Project Roomkey. Unless there's any other questions, we'll move to item 8. Item 8 is support for the California Citizens for Local Control. Let's have the report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I'll be very brief with this report. This is an item that came forward at the request of Councilmember Osborne. Councilmember Osborne was contacted by Torrance City Council member Mike Griffiths, who has started a volunteer group known as the California Citizens for Local Control. Essentially, it's a group that is looking to oppose legislative items, state legislation that would have the effect of eroding cities' local control. As you know, over the years, the state has taken up many measures to erode the city's local control, in particular in the area of land use and zoning. Again, over the last few years, we've seen this attempt to try to resolve the state's housing shortfall by allowing for the improper type of housing in zoning areas that aren't appropriate for those types of buildings. So, for example, multi-family complexes in single-family zones, or accessory dwelling units within single-family zones without any oversight by the city. Essentially, these types of developments would be allowed by right. So that is something that, of course, all of our cities are very concerned about. It's an erosion of our local control, and that's what this group is looking to try to prevent moving forward. So they are just looking to get the support of various cities throughout the state for this group. So far, they have received the support from the cities of Manhattan Beach, Rancho Palos Verdes, Redondo Beach, and Torrance in the South Bay. Apparently, there are other South Bay cities that are also considering a resolution similar to what you're looking at tonight to also support this group. So with that, staff just asks that the City Council consider and approve the resolution that's before you. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions? Yes.
Jim, I just want to add a comment on what I made at the last meeting, that we've all seen it over the years where the state has just been chipping away the local control endlessly. And it's every time we shake our heads and just go, what's coming next? They just don't seem to stop. And it's almost like there won't be cities anymore at one point if we continue to just let them get away with it. And so I feel this is an important attempt to at least fight back to whatever degree it proves successful. And I do think it's growing in momentum. And so I do think it's an important step just for the council to adopt and join in numbers with the other South Bay cities. That's all I got.
Mayor? Mr. Pat?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jim, is that a recommendation? Are you recommending? I'll second if you are.
Well, yeah, I'll make the motion unless there's further questions.
And I'll second it.
Yeah, let's see if there's any further questions first before we entertain a motion. Anybody have any further questions? Give everybody a chance to jump in.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this? I know they said a few South Bay cities, but are they looking to get this? I mean, more. I know it's starting volunteer, so it's probably smaller. But are they looking to add outside of the South Bay, outside of LA County?
That would be a question for Mike, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, just by the name of the group, Councilmember Suarez, I would imagine that it is open to other cities outside of the South Bay. I would imagine they're looking to get as wide a support as possible for what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, Vincent, you have hidden. I think it's Hidden Hills, and that city is so hidden. I don't even know where it is, but I know it's not in the South Bay.
That's why it's hidden.
Yes.
So I'm guessing they're trying to go further, but
yeah,
yeah, I support that.
Okay. Okay, let's entertain a motion. I think I heard one developing.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. I move approval.
And I'll repeat it. I'll second it.
Okay, thank you for repeating it. So there's been moved approval by Osborne and seconded by Mr. Pat Kearney that we support the California Citizens for Local Control resolution. Is there any discussion on the motion? Madam Attorney, you don't have to read the resolution, do you?
I don't have anything to read. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask the Assistant City Clerk to give the roll call to vote for item number 8.
Item 8, Mayor Pro Tem Suarez,
Yes.
Councilmember Osborne,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Councilmember Kearney,
Yes.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is, let's hear from the city manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Just a very brief report. As you know, because we are experiencing a heat wave throughout Southern California, we have been contacted by Southern California Edison that they have declared what's known as a stage 2 emergency. Essentially, what that means is that they have done everything that they can to try to mitigate the demand for energy. And at this point, because the demand is so great, they are anticipating going into a stage 3 emergency, which would require rolling outages. And we have been notified that there are a couple of circuits within Lawndale that could potentially be part of this rolling outage. And if that were to occur, if the stage 3 were to be declared, as I understand it from the information that was provided by Southern California Edison, the 2 circuits are in the southwest quadrant, the very southwest quadrant of the city. It's the streets, the east-west streets, west of Condon, from 165th to 173rd, including a portion of Inglewood, and then also Revelia and 172nd, 173rd, and a small portion of Artesia. So just a very, very small portion of the city. But if that were to occur, the outage would be for an hour, and they said typically the outages would be between the hours of 5 and 8 p.m. So, and again, that's if a stage 3 emergency is declared. It hasn't happened yet, but they think that may happen because of the length of the anticipated heat wave through Wednesday. And that's all I have.
Through Wednesday, like as in 2 days?
Correct.
Because it wasn't as hot as today as they thought it was going to be. Go ahead, Osmore.
I got a quick question, Kevin. Is that information going to be up on the website, or is it up already?
It's not up. I just received it maybe an hour before the meeting started, so it is something that we can certainly put up.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. The why do we put up so that if it happens, we won't be inundated with calls for which we can do nothing about. At least people, if they know that it's potentially could happen, when it happens, at least they know there's no action to be taken. That Edison totally have it under control, and it's a planned rolling blackout as opposed to an outage. So I don't know how much outreach they do, so I guess we should do it as much as possible on our social media or whatever platforms that's appropriate.
Right. We will do that.
Robert, Mr. Pat?
Yes,
Kevin?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's feasible, but have we looked in closing down the community center and moving the people there over to our offices? Like we have vacant rooms over by Michael Reyes's office. We have the mayor and city council office they can use. Because I know are we still paying a lot for that electricity?
Yes. I appreciate you bringing that up. That is something that we've had a couple discussions about. In fact, I just spoke with Mike Estes about that this morning. We are looking to see what we can do to bring down the cost for cooling the community center since it's largely unused right now. We're looking to see if that can be done. I'd like to test that to shut off the air conditioning zone for the third floor and for all of the public area on the second floor, and limit it to just the offices on the second floor if that's possible. And I'd like to see if that results in savings so that we won't have to move staff and offices and computers and things like that. So I'm investigating that right now, and I'm looking to see what we can do. So if it's not possible to achieve the kind of savings that we're looking for, then we'll look at other alternatives like moving staff as a possibility.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kevin. This is Dan Reed. I appreciate that thought. At the same point, I want to make sure that we keep in consideration that we ran into it in a building at our business. You shut down one section, make sure it doesn't unbalance the zone that requires a maintenance crew to have to come back out to reset all of the zones.
Right. I heard a little bit from Mike this afternoon, and apparently it's a little bit more complicated than just shutting off one zone. So yeah, we'll make sure that we do it the right way.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. City Manager. Anything else on your report? Or?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, let's hear from items from council members. Let's start with Councilmember Osborne.
I have nothing to report.
All right, thank you, Jim. Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, nothing specific to report. Just everybody watch the heat wave, and if you do have an outage, please check on your elders or anyone else that would need to have access to powered for any units that they have at home.
All right, thank you, sir. Did we go with Councilman Pat Kearney?
I just have two things. City Manager and I attended our Library Trust Oversight Committee meeting via Zoom. I look pretty good on Zoom too, I'm gonna tell you. And also, we attended the City Council and the Sheriff's, I don't know what, quarterly, whenever meeting, and it was very informative. And that's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Madam Pro Tem, Troy.
Yes, I had a couple meetings that I attended. Via Zoom, I did the South Bay City Council of Government Steering Committee. It seems like Lomida's Project Roomkey site is also going to be ending. Theirs is going to be ending this month, so I'm hoping it's a sign that that's a trend that's going to be happening. I also attended with staff and our Mayor Robert Polmiles Business Revitalization Subcommittee. There were some great items discussed. We're looking to kickstart into helping out businesses with resources and all that. So there's some exciting things to come. And with that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, madam. And let's see. I also attended the periodic meeting with the Sheriff's Department. Captain Allen gave a good report on the state of criminal activity, I should say, and safety in the city of Lawndale. All in all, he reported that serious crimes are down significantly. However, there is an increase in theft, not auto thefts, but I forget what they call it, but it's theft from cars. That's due to more cars being on the street 24 hours a day because of people are sheltering at home. And that's not just unique to the city of Lawndale, but the county as well. But all in all, they gave a pretty good report of the city's public safety status. As Madam Pro Tem mentioned, she and I, we both attended the first inaugural meeting, if you will, of the Business Revitalization Subcommittee, along with the staff, where we discussed well, we did the launching, I should say, of this committee, where the goal is to discuss items related to business activities that will make the city of Lawndale more business friendly while increasing revenues to the city through economic development incentives. We're looking at any issue, every and any issue under the sun as pertaining to increasing, retaining business that will, in the end, generate more business and revenue activity here in the city of Lawndale. So we got off to a great start with that. I want to thank the staff for putting together the first staff meeting, our community development director and the city manager, and we'll continue to build upon that. And out of that, we should have a report of some recommendations to recommend to the full council once we get to that stage. I'm going to be calling on the likes of the academic world as well as the business community, both here in the city of Lawndale and outside of the city of Lawndale, to offer their suggestions and input as well as we go through this process. So that was it on that. And I believe that's all I attended. It seemed like I attended something else, but I didn't make a note of it. But I'll stop with that. And so that will be item 9 on our agenda. We no longer will have a closed session tonight, so item 10 will be removed from the closed session. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager? Still no need for item 10?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Oh, all right. So with that, we are now at item K, which is adjournment time. So with that, it says here, City Hall will be closed for the Labor Day holiday on the next regular meeting date. Therefore, the next meeting of the Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday. That's Tuesday, September the 8th, 2020. It is now 7:14, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending.